Hi there, it's Bob again. I'm talking here today with Heather, and she's going to tell us her side of the story on her recollection on how her family was treated. And her two kids in this story are Samantha and Annie. So, Heather, can you please start from the beginning when you believe this all happened to you guys?
I can't give dates or a year. I just know it was a few years ago. Um, it started when I started dating the guy that I married. His name was Sheldon. I'll leave last names out of it. Before he got with me, he was in trouble with the law and did some stuff, which he did tell me about. He never lied to me. A few months into the relationship, everything was going good. He never abused me or my children at any given point, whether it was physically, emotionally. We always had food, clean house. We got along, really good together. We worked well together. We were downtown and we ran into his ex, and they had a little squabble downtown in Saskatoon. And I didn't like that she was being so vulgar and disrespectful. And I took my kids aside, and I can still overhear, Sheldon saying to his ex, which was Tammy Lugner, that, get out of my life, leave me alone, we're done, this, that, the other. To leave the conflict, he just walked away. He didn't swear at her. He didn't call her no names. When my kids asked him about it, he was just like, that's just my ex. It's all good. Let's go enjoy our time. And we did. 3 days later, we ended up with Child Protection Social Services at our door. I've never had a dealing with them in my entire life. I'm one of those parents that, I have kids that, have disorders. And I'm one of those people, I'm willing to go the distance. I took all the parenting classes that was ever offered. It wasn't, I was made to, court ordered, social worker involved in my life. I just went to them because me being a parent, I don't see nothing wrong with knowing and getting knowledge on new ways to deal with your children. And I enjoyed them. And I ended up with them at my doorstep, and them telling me that they have to remove the children out of my care because there is allegations and suspicions that he is beating us black and blue. And me and my daughter were in shorts and a t-shirt, and my babies were in diapers and little socks. At which I said to her, and her name was Connie, I won't give last name, why do you need to apprehend? You can see the kids. You can see this is a false allegation. Like, what are you talking about? I started yelling and screaming at her. I'm not going to deny that. I did call her some pretty nasty names. I was mad. These people come and take your kids without having any concrete evidence. Where in this is it just hearsay? If I heard say everything, the police wouldn't do a shit about it. You have to have proof. Anyway, back to what I was saying. My kids were they were holding on to me, crying as she was trying to remove the children from my care, telling me I was making it worse by crying, and that I need to be strong in front of my children, and making me feel stupid, and that I had no rights. I even told her, we can take these kids to the doctor right away. She wasn't willing to negotiate anything. I told her, my old man would be willing to leave the house if that's what it took. She wasn't willing to negotiate anything. I thought their oath was they're supposed to keep families together. They did not do a very good job here. I called my dad the minute they were apprehended from me, and my dad told me to call the supervisor. And I called, and the person I spoke to was Isaac in the department in Saskatoon. And he did some shuffling around in his schedule because of how angry and upset I was to get me in there the next day. We went to the meeting, me, my dad, the person that was being accused. We were all in that room with Connie, Isaac, 2 other people were in that room with us. And when Isaac looked at Connie and asked her for her reasons for apprehension, her exact words were, because of his fat past and what he did to the social worker. Isaac's mouth dropped. He looked right at me and Sheldon and told us that that was no grounds for an apprehension. We were rewarded our kids back immediately. We had them back in our care within a few hours.
So after that point of them finding out that you guys were not abusing your children, you guys were actually taking care of them, was that the last you had ever seen of the department? Or were you still having to deal with issues, ongoing issues, because of apparently what happened in the past with your ex-husband?
No, it wasn't. When we walked into that room, I was crying and I was so happy that I was actually getting my kids back. And it was like, there was no grounds for it. You can see that we were not black and blue as the allegations said we were. When we left outside the room, Isaac was still in the room talking to some other people, and Connie came out of the room and looked dead at us, and at which Jason, who was our ride, was there and said to us, "We will get your kids one way or another." A few months went by. They were back at our door, put in a damn parent aid. Parent aid was supposed to be ordered there for 3 months. Parent aid left within 2 weeks saying the same thing. These are good people, good parents. A little bit of yelling, but you know what? Nobody's perfect. They're not yelling vanities at their children. They're not doing anything abusive in that way. I did everything that was ever asked of me to do. They just continued to harass and nitpick our ass.
So even though the parent aides were coming in and not staying the full 3-month orders, I'm wondering now, if they are ordered to be there for 3 months, why in the first place did they not stay for the 3 months? And second of all, if they found you fit, then what is the reasoning of them still being a part of your family? If they say from their own department that it is fine to be there, then I'm wondering how come it is your family was still being harassed.
I honestly don't know what to say to that, other than at the same time that those little things were going on, my stepmother, who was a foster parent, who would leave her children unattended, no food in the house, she never spent the money wisely. I couldn't even go over to her place anymore because I was appalled, because she was part of the system, and she was and here she is, one of the people that were doing it. She was a social worker. She was a foster parent. No food in her house. Abusing her children herself. Taking in other people's kids. At which my own dad stepped in and had to bring food over just so they wouldn't take her kids. So then I thought to myself, what is really wrong with this system? Is this ever going to stop? Ever? Then I'd have to say the second big incident that they came in was when we all went shopping, me and my hubby and Jason and Janet and everybody. And we were unloading their groceries. We went to my house. We were going to have a barbecue. And we told all the kids to go upstairs so we can unload the groceries. And my son threw a fit. He wanted his popsicle right then and there. And I told him he couldn't have it. At that moment, they were crawling up the stairs, and my baby boy, Tyler, was climbing up, like, behind him, and my son picked him up and threw him, and my other friend, Michael Peitingberg, was there and grabbed him by his ankle and his arm, caught him, and it was fairly big skid stairs, and that incident took place in McNabb. My son... 3 grown adults could not grab my son without hurting him. And that was the key point. We were trying to do this without hurting him. He was running around the house, kicking, screaming, punching walls.